Ever felt that, satisfying glide when your knee bends just right? Or maybe the opposite, the sudden shock when a simple trip turns into, well, something more serious like a fracture. Those feelings, the smooth movement, the sharp pain, they really bring home how much we rely on two amazing sort of unsung heroes inside us, cartilage and bone. Welcome to this deep dive. We've designed this one specifically for you. Maybe you're a first-year medical student trying to get your head around these vital tissues. Our mission today is to really unpack cartilage and bone, not just memorize the facts, but understand them so well, so memorably, you could turn around and explain it all to a curious 10-year-old. We want to give you those aha moments, those metaphors that make it stick. We'll look at what they're made of, what they do, where you find them, how they grow, how they repair, and yeah, what happens when things go wrong. So let's kick things off with cartilage first. I like thinking of it as the flexible scaffolding, maybe, shaping parts of your body, or like that smooth, slippery ice on a skating rink inside your joints. It's this specialized connective tissue, super important for movement, for support. But what's really fascinating and key clinically is that it's avascular.
Right. No direct blood supply.
Exactly. No blood supply. And aneral, too. No nerves.
That's it. And that design, it isn't just some random fact, It's a profound biological trade-off. It means cartilage is incredibly resilient. It can handle huge pressures without, bursting blood vessels. But the flip side...
Yeah, it must be hard to repair then.
Extremely difficult, yeah. When it gets damaged, healing is slow and often incomplete. That's why conditions like osteoarthritis, which we'll get to, are such a challenge. Its composition is perfectly suited for this. You've got the cells, the chondrocytes, literally cartilage cells living inside this unique stuff called extracellular matrix, or ECM.
Okay, the matrix. What's special about that?
Well, it's like a semi-solid gel. It's mostly type 2 collagen, but the fibers are really fine, which keeps the surface incredibly smooth. And then you have these amazing molecules, proteoglycans and glycosaminoglycans, GAGs for short.
GAGs? What do they do?
Think of them as tiny, super thirsty sponges. They just pull water into the cartilage constantly. That's what gives it its resilience, its ability to resist compression like a shock absorber. And this structure allows it to do its main jobs, supporting soft tissues like keeping your windpipe open and providing that smooth, low-friction surface in joints, essential for easy movement.
That water-rich gel sounds perfect for cushioning. But besides the slow healing, any other downsides to being avascular? Does it make it vulnerable?
That's a really good question. Because there's no direct blood supply, nutrients have to kind of seep through the matrix by diffusion. That limits how thick cartilage can get. It slows down its metabolism. It's very efficient for its job. But yeah, if you put sustained pressure on it or damage it in a way that stops that diffusion, the cells can start to die off pretty quickly.
Okay, so that's the basic idea, our flexible scaffolding. But you mentioned it's not all the same. There are different types.
Exactly. Not all scaffolding needs the same specs. There are 3 main types, each tailored for specific jobs. The most common one is hyaline cartilage.
Hyaline. Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the default, the basic building block.
Precisely. It looks bluish-white, sort of translucent. This is the slippery ice we talked about. Covering the ends of long bones and most of your movable joints lets them glide smoothly. You also find it in your larynx, your trachea, keeping things open. It connects your ribs to your sternum, too. And really interestingly, it forms the temporary skeleton in embryos before bone takes over.
Wow, so it's like the model that bone gets built upon.
In many cases, yes. Its pliability, its resilience, it all comes from that watery matrix with the type 2 collagen and GAGs.
And you mentioned osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
That's when this hyaline cartilage wears down.
That's exactly it. It's a focal, progressive loss of this articular hyaline cartilage. The ice rink gets damaged, roughened, and that leads to pain, stiffness, loss of movement. It's a huge reason people end up needing joint replacements.
Makes sense. So if that's the basic type, what if you need something, well, bendier, something that really needs to spring back?
Then you need elastic cartilage. It's similar to hyaline, but as the name suggests, it's packed with elastic fibers. Think of it like adding extra springs or rubber bands to the scaffolding.
Okay, so where would we find that? Places that need to bend a lot?
Exactly. Your external ear, the pinna, that's why you can bend your ear and it just snaps back.
Like a bendy strum.
Perfect analogy. Also, your epiglottis, that little flap at the back of your throat that covers your airway when you swallow, and the eustachian tube connecting your ear to your throat. That elasticity is key.
Got it. Hyaline for smooth gliding, Elastic for bendiness. What's the third type? You mentioned something heavy duty.
Yes, fibrocartilage. This is the tough stuff, the reinforced scaffolding. It's really a hybrid, sort of between dense connective tissue like ligaments and hyaline cartilage. The key difference here is that it contains loads of type-I's collagen fibers. These are much thicker, much stronger bundles than the type 2 in hyaline.
Type Y, isn't that the main collagen in bone too?
It is. Good catch. That tells you this stuff is built for strength. Fibrocartilage acts as a fantastic shock absorber, resisting really strong compression and shearing forces. Think heavy-duty springs in a car suspension or like a really thick rubber mat.
So where do you need that kind of toughness?
Key places are your intervertebral discs, those cushions between your vertebrae.
Yeah.
Also the menisci in your knee, those C-shaped pads that stabilize the joint. And the pubic symphysis, where your pelvic bones meet at the front.
The menisci. That's what athletes often injure, right?
Very common, yes. Tears in the meniscus are tears in fibrocartilage. And here's a crucial point, especially for that 10-year-old explanation. Unlike hyaline and elastic cartilage, fibrocartilage generally doesn't have a perichondrium.
A perichondrium, what's that?
It's a fibrous outer layer that covers most cartilage, containing cells that can help with growth and some repair. Fibrocartilage lacks this.
So even harder to heal than the other types.
Generally, yes. Much harder, which is why meniscal tears are often so problematic and might need surgical intervention.
Wow. So really, if you look at the big picture, the specific stuff each cartilage is made of, the type of collagen, the amount of elastin or water, it perfectly dictates where you find it and what job it does. Form fits function.
Beautifully put. It's a fantastic example of biological design.
Okay, so from that flexible, often difficult to heal scaffolding, let's shift gears to something, well, seemingly more solid, bone. If cartilage is the flexible scaffold or the ice rink, bone is like the reinforced concrete of your body, super strong, rigid. But, and this is key, it's surprisingly dynamic and very much alive.
Absolutely. It's not just a static frame like you might imagine. It's a living tissue packed with blood vessels, lymphatics, nerves. It's constantly remodeling, adapting.
Reinforced concrete.
Yeah.
That suggests strength, but maybe some give too. How does it achieve that? What's it made of?
It's that combination again, this perfect blend of components. You've got the cells first. 3 main types to remember. Osteoblasts, think B for builders. They make the new bone material. Then osteocytes, they're the mature cells, kind of trapped inside the bone they build. They act as maintainers, sensors, monitoring stress, and communicating. And osteoclasts, think C for chewers or carvers. They break down old bone.
Builders, maintainers, and demolishers. Okay. And the concrete part, the matrix.
Right, the extracellular matrix. This is where the magic happens for strength. It's roughly 65% inorganic minerals, mainly crystals, called calcium hydroxyapatite. That's like the cement, giving bone its hardness and rigidity. But then about 35% is organic material, mostly type I collagen fibers. This is like the steel rebar in reinforced concrete. It provides flexibility, tensile strength, resistance to shattering.
So it's not just hard, it's tough because of that collagen. Prevents it from being brittle.
Exactly. That combination gives bone an incredible strength-to-weight ratio. It allows it to support us, protect organs, act as levers for muscles, store calcium. Oh, and let's not forget, make blood cells in the marrow. It does so much.
It really is amazing engineering. But just like concrete structures can be built differently, I assume bone isn't all the same structure either.
Correct. We generally talk about 2 main structural types. First, there's compact bone or cortical bone. This is the dense, solid outer layer you see, like the strong outer wall of a building.
Okay, this shell. How is it organized to be so strong?
It's made up of these incredible cylindrical units called osteons, sometimes called haversian systems.
Yeah.
Picture tiny concentric rings of bone matrix, like tree rings. Those are called lamellae. And right in the center of each osteon is a channel, the haversian canal, carrying blood vessels and nerves. The osteocytes, the maintainer cells, live in little spaces called lacunae within the lamellae, and they connect to each other and the central canal through tiny channels called canaliculi. It's a whole communication network.
Wow, like little neighborhoods with their own supply lines and communication systems. So that's the dense outer part. What about inside?
Inside, particularly towards the ends of long bones and filling flat bones, you find cancellous bone, also called spongy or trabecular bone. It looks like a honeycomb or a scaffold.
Spongy, so it's lighter.
Much lighter, yes. It's a network of thin, irregular plates and struts of bone called trabeculae. These create lots of interconnecting spaces, and importantly, these spaces are filled with bone marrow.
Red marrow and yellow marrow.
Exactly. Red marrow is where blood cell formation, hematopoiesis, happens. Yellow marrow is mostly fat storage. And unlike compact bone, spongy bone doesn't have those organized osteons with central canals. The osteocytes are still there in lacunae, getting nutrients from the marrow spaces.
So compact for the strong outer shell, spongy for the lighter, marrow-filled interior. But you said bone is dynamic, constantly changing.
Yes, this is crucial. Bone isn't static like a rock. It undergoes constant bone remodeling. Think of it like a building that's perpetually being renovated by that specialized crew we mentioned.
The osteoclasts and osteoblasts.
Precisely. It's estimated that about 5 to 10% of your adult skeleton is turned over each year. Osteoclasts, the demolition crew, dig tunnels or pits, resorbing old bone. Then osteoblasts, the builders, follow behind, laying down new bone matrix called osteoid, which then gets mineralized.
So it's always breaking down and building up. Why?
Several reasons. To repair microdamage we get from daily stress, to adapt its strength to the loads placed upon it, and to release calcium into the blood if needed. And what's really fascinating is how adaptive it is. More mechanical stress, like from exercise, signals the bone to become denser and stronger. Less stress, like being in space with reduced gravity, tells it to break down more. Bone resorption increases. Your bones literally reshape themselves based on how you use them.
That adaptability is incredible.
Yeah.
And maybe leads into something else amazing about bone, its ability to heal. You hear about broken bones healing stronger sometimes.
Well, stronger might be a bit of a myth, but it does heal remarkably well. And here's a truly standout fact. Bone is basically the only solid tissue in the body that can repair itself without forming a fibrous scar. It regenerates back to its original tissue type.
No scar tissue. That's amazing. How does it manage that when, say, you fracture your arm?
It's a really elegant multi-stage process. We can simplify it into 4 main stages. First, the break tears blood vessels, so you get bleeding, and a hematoma, a blood clot, forms. That's like the body's immediate emergency bandage, and it brings in inflammatory cells.
Okay, stage 1, the clot.
Stage 2, soft callus formation. Immune cells clean up the debris. Then fibroblasts and other cells create a sort of scaffolding of collagen and fibrocartilage across the gap. It's a soft, flexible bridge, not strong enough to bear weight yet.
Like a temporary patch.
Exactly. Stage 3 is the hard callus. Now, blood vessels grow into the soft callus, bringing in osteoblasts. These builders start replacing the fibrocartilage with woven bone. It's immature, disorganized bone, but it makes the callus much harder and more stable. The bridge gets reinforced.
Getting stronger. And the final stage.
Stage 4, remodeling. This can take months, even years. The woven bone of the hard callus is gradually resorbed by osteoclasts and replaced by organized, strong lamellar bone, just like the original compact and spongy bone. The bone is reshaped back towards its original form and strength. It's a true regeneration.
That whole process is just, wow, a natural masterpiece of repair.
Mm.
So if bone is constantly remodeling and can heal like that, how do we actually get our bones in the first place during development?
Right. They don't just appear fully formed. The process is called ossification, bone formation. And there are 2 main ways this happens.
Seems if it's okay.
The first, and the way most of our bones form, especially the long bones like your femur or humerus, is endochondral ossification. Endo meaning within, chondral meaning cartilage.
Ah, so it involves cartilage, like that embryonic skeleton you mentioned.
Exactly. You start with a miniature model of the bone made of hyaline cartilage. Then, blood vessels invade, bringing osteoblasts, and the cartilage model is gradually replaced by bone tissue. Imagine building a house by first making a plastic model, then slowly swapping out the plastic parts for real bricks.
That makes sense.
Sure.
And how do long bones get longer then during childhood?
That happens at specific areas called the epiphyseal growth plates. These are layers of hyaline cartilage located between the shaft, the diaphysis, and the ends, the epiphyses, of long bones. Think of them as growth factories. Within these plates, cartilage cells multiply, enlarge, then die off and calcify, and osteoblasts lay down bone on this calcified cartilage framework. That's how the bone lengthens until the plates eventually close in late adolescence.
Okay, so endochondral uses a cartilage blueprint. What's the other way?
The other way is intramembranous ossification. This is how most of the flat bones form, like the bones of your skull, clavicle. Intramembranous means within a membrane. Here, there's no cartilage model. Bone forms directly within sheets or membranes of primitive connective tissue called mesenchyme. Mesenchymal stem cells differentiate directly into osteoblasts, which start secreting bone matrix, forming little islands of bone that eventually fuse together. It's like building a wall directly with bricks. No plastic model needed first.
Two different strategies for building bone. Fascinating. Now, unfortunately, things don't always go perfectly. We should probably touch on what happens when these systems, cartilage or bone, run into problems.
Yes, definitely. There are many conditions, but we can look at a few key examples that highlight different kinds of issues.
Okay. What's a good starting point?
Let's consider osteogenesis imperfecta, often called OI or brittle bone disease. This is actually a group of genetic disorders, and the core problem is usually a defect in making type I collagen.
The rebar in the bone matrix we talked about?
Exactly. If your rebar is faulty, your reinforced concrete is weak. So people with OI have bones that are incredibly brittle and fracture very easily, sometimes with minimal trauma. It can range from mild to very severe. It can also affect other tissues rich in type I collagen, like the whites of the eyes, making them look blue, teeth, and hearing. And it's medically and legally quite important because multiple fractures in a child could raise concerns about injury, so recognizing OI is vital.
Right, a crucial differential diagnosis.
Yeah.
What about problems with bone growth itself?
A classic example there is achondroplasia. This is the most common cause of short-limbed dwarfism. It's an autosomal dominant genetic condition, usually a mutation in a gene called FGFR3. This mutation primarily affects endochondral ossification, the process involving the cartilage model. Remember those growth plates, the factories for bone lengthening? In chondroplasia, the cartilage cell proliferation and maturation in those plates is significantly slowed down. So the long bones, particularly the upper arms and legs, don't grow to their usual length. This results in the characteristic short limbs, but the trunk length is typically normal and head size might be slightly larger. Importantly, intelligence is completely normal. Intramembranous ossification isn't really affected, which is why the skull bones grow more normally.
So it specifically targets that cartilage-based growth process.
Mm.
Okay, what about issues with mineralization, making the bone hard?
Ah, yes. That brings us to vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D is absolutely essential for absorbing calcium from your diet and for mineralizing the bone matrix properly. If children lack sufficient vitamin D or calcium, the newly formed bone matrix, the osteoid, fails to calcify properly. This leads to rickets. The bones remain soft and pliable, like underbaked cookies.
So they can bend under weight.
Exactly, leading to bowed legs, deformed long bones, sometimes a rachitic rosary where the rib ends enlarged. In adults, the equivalent condition is called osteomalacia. Here, the existing bone is remodeling, but the new osteoid laid down during that process doesn't mineralize properly, so adults develop poorly mineralized, weaker bone. This causes bone pain, muscle weakness, and an increased risk of fractures. Common causes are poor diet, lack of sunlight exposure needed for vitamin D synthesis in skin, or sometimes liver or kidney disease affecting vitamin D activation.
Rickets in kids, osteomalacia in adults, both due to poor mineralization.
Got it. And what about the most common bone issue, especially as people age?
That would definitely be osteoporosis. This is hugely prevalent, particularly in older adults, especially postmenopausal women. Here, the problem isn't mineralization itself, but the balance of remodeling.
The builders versus the demolishers. Precisely. Bone resorption by osteoclasts starts to outpace bone formation by osteoblasts. Over time, this leads to a net loss of bone mass and a deterioration of the bone's microarchitecture. Remember the spongy, cancellous bone? It becomes thinner, more porous, like the honeycomb structure develops too many large holes. This makes the bone weak, fragile, and highly susceptible to fractures, often from minimal trauma, think wrist, hip, and spine fractures.
And why is it more common after menopause?
Estrogen plays a protective role in bone health, partly by restraining osteoclast activity. When estrogen levels drop after menopause, osteoclasts become more active, leading to accelerated bone loss. That's often called type 1 osteoporosis. Age itself is also a major risk factor, along with genetics, small body frames, certain medications.
There are hormonal influences too, aren't there? Like growth hormone.
Oh, definitely. Hormones play a huge role throughout life. Growth hormone, GH, is critical for bone growth during childhood. Too much before the growth plates close leads to gigantism. Too little causes pituitary dwarfism. If you get too much GH after the plates have closed, you get acromegaly, where bones thicken, especially in the hands, feet, and face. Sex hormones, estrogen and testosterone, are crucial for the pubal growth spurt and also for eventually closing those growth plates. And thyroid hormones are essential for normal skeletal development and maturation alongside brain development. Deficiency in infancy can cause significant issues.
It's such a complex interplay of factors, genetics, nutrition, hormones, mechanical stress, all influencing bone health.
It really is. And there are other conditions too, like Paget's disease, where remodeling goes haywire, leading to thick but structurally unsound bone. But those perhaps give a good overview of the types of problems that can arise.
Absolutely. So we've gone from the flexible cushioning cartilage to the strong, dynamic, constantly renovating bone. We've seen how they're built, how they grow, how amazingly bone can repair itself, and some of the key things that can go wrong. It's been a phenomenal deep dive into our body's essential support system.
And connecting it all back, the goal wasn't just learning lists of facts. It was about grasping the why behind the what, understanding how that structure, the cells, the matrix, the blood supply or lack thereof, leads directly to the function and, unfortunately, sometimes the dysfunction. So now, hopefully, when you encounter that curious 10-year-old asking why their broken arm will heal, or maybe why grandma's knees ache, you've got those anchors, those metaphors, the scaffolding, the ice rink, the reinforced concrete, the renovation crew, to explain it in a way that really clicks, that they'll remember.
That's the goal. And that actually leads to one last thought to leave you with, something to mull over. Here's where it gets really interesting, I think. We know bone is incredibly adaptive to mechanical load, that remodeling process is so responsive. So consider this. How might future therapies really harness that natural ability even more? Could we stimulate repair or even prevent conditions like osteoporosis by, cleverly manipulating those remodeling signals, perhaps even before major problems develop?
That's a fantastic question. Leveraging the body's own systems, that's often where the most elegant solutions lie.
Exactly. We've given you a solid foundation today, but honestly, the journey of discovery in medicine, it never really stops. Keep exploring, keep asking questions. Until next time, stay curious.